Hello and welcome to the Smooth Scaling podcast, where we are speaking with industry experts to uncover how to design, build, and run scalable and resilient systems. I'm your host, Jose Quaresma, and today I'm joined by Praveen Thakur, who's the head of technical engagement in APAC here at Qt. Praveen has spent the last 4 years supporting Qt customers in preparing for, monitoring, and assessing the success of their biggest days. I really enjoyed our chat, and the highlights for me was the insights that he shared into how different companies approach peak traffic, what it looks like inside a mission control room, and the importance of defining clear success criteria. Enjoy! Welcome, Praveen.
Thank you very much, Jose.
It's great to have you here. I guess we've been working together for 2 years now, and it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
And Praveen, I think we should get right into it. So you're Qt's head of technical engagement for the APAC region, and can you start by sharing a little bit what technical engagement in Qt really is, and maybe a little bit what's alive in the day of a technical engagement manager?
Yeah, sure. So technical engagement at Qt is, in my opinion, very critical role. It spans from pre-sales cycle till the whole journey of the customer. So normally we refer TEM. TEM is nothing but a solution architect or solution engineer working in technical engagement. And our journey starts from very first interaction with any prospect. That's where we try to understand what they are looking for, how we can help them, then transition into onboarding once they become our customers, help them in go lives, monitoring their events, and then that journey still continues with support, training, and so on till the time they are our customers, right? So that's what we do as TEM. Now, second part to your question was, okay, how does the life of a TEM or anyone working in technical engagement at Qt, right? So looking at this, I can easily say no 2 days are same for any TEM in Qt. Because it's not just one stream of work. We work in pre-sales onboarding. So one day you might be talking to a banking customer in a pre-sales capacity, and in next hour, you might be monitoring a very high profile event on a ticketing industry, and next day could be totally different. So no 2 days are same. It's very hard to describe, but how I describe it to people in my team outside, being a TEM, you need to be flexible. And that flexibility doesn't mean from your timing perspective or anything, but it span across technology. Breadth is very important. When you are talking to an e-commerce, you need to have understanding of how does the e-commerce system works. What are the things in e-commerce ecosystem, right? When you're talking to a banking customer, for them, security is most important, right? How secure is their data? Are we capturing any data? So that kind of flexibility is needed in the role. You just get used to it, I'll say. Even within Qt, if I look at last 4 years, so I've been here for 4 years, there's been a transition. When I joined, there were different problems to solve. When I talk to customers these days, those problems have shifted from one end to another end.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll get to a bit of those problems a bit later in the podcast. But I really like the kind of the versatility and the flexibility that you mentioned there. I think also when I think about it as well, I think part of it is that, yes, we do in technical engagement, our solution architects, solution engineers, they do need to understand our product, right? But also often that's not enough, right? You need to go into and also work with the customers, understand their infrastructure and their technology stack, and that can be very wide. Now, maybe backtracking slightly a little bit, how did you get to head of technical engagement for APAC at Qt? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Let me put it in this way, right? Almost 18 years back, I started as a software developer, passing out of uni. Most of the time I spent was in service or consulting world or a product company working as a software engineer, then leading a team and so on. At one stage, I was like, okay, now it's been enough of consulting, enough of working on various products. Let's see the world on the other side, right? And before my role at Qt, I was working in Tourism Australia. So Tourism Australia is a tourism body for Australia, how we can bring in more tourists and so on to Australia. But uh, soon enough, I'll say I was there for 2 years. I realized, okay, this is something, there are still a lot of problems because we used to be dependent upon many vendors and so on, right? And I can see those challenges. And when I was then, this role came up in Qt, where Qt wanted to start APAC office in Sydney. And so um, sounds very interesting, but yeah, that was the first thing that, okay, this role could be interesting. But when I started speaking to people, I was very much impressed with how much we care about your customers. And it's not like I'm bragging about now I work at Qt, but I was yeah, I was equally surprised. The way we take care of our customers at Qt, that's amazing. And it's not just me, but I got this feedback from various customers in last 4 years that what we say and the way we support even the post sales cycle, because I have seen that on the other side, that when I was at Tourism Australia, when you are in a sales cycle, there are a lot of things promised, but when it comes to once you become a customer, then there are huge delays and so on. So that was the journey, right? Because this role was new, and I could easily see what are the pain points on the other side and what I can solve being at Qt.
What does the process look like? Let's say that I'm a retail company and I'm getting ready for holiday season and I'm expecting some major traffic over the holiday season, probably with some peaks as well. And I'm coming to you for help. Can you share, I mean, at a high level, what does that process look like? Is there some specific questions that you would ask me? Kind of, I know it's maybe hard to summarize, but can you give it a try?
So normally that journey always starts with some of the sales calls, or where I'll go as an pre-sales capacity as an technical architect to understand their ecosystem. But it's not just about understanding their tech ecosystem. First and foremost thing for us is to understand, oh, why do they need Qt? What is their business model? Are they looking at heavy discounts in case of retailers, or are they looking at selling something which is very less in supply and high in demand? Because those two things are very different. So we qualify that, okay, now we can definitely solve this problem. Then we go deeper into technical details. What could be the right way to integrate them? Are they using a CDN, or are they using some other technologies, right? What are the options available on our side? Business problem also lead to certain things, right? We can't paint everything with the same brush. For example, uh, for us, we always want to make our solution the way Qt should work, very secure, it's server-side integration and so on. But then we also come across few customers. For example, there is a big retailer in Australia. Now they use us every Black Friday, but still use JavaScript integration, because for them, the success factor is not, okay, how fair that sale is. For them, it is their system still should be up and running, because what they are selling is not something limited in supply. If I don't get it this morning, I can still get it in the afternoon, right? On the other hand, for few customers, it'll be very different. For it, customer selling, let's say PS5 or something, their fairness comes into play. We need to make sure we tighten all security holes, all loopholes in the system, right? So that's how it goes. Integration on Qt side is straightforward. I would say it's not that complex once you understand. Then the next hurdle comes in. Uh, once we go live, that big day has arrived, because that's the most important day for the customer, right? We need to make sure they are running at a right rate, what their system can handle. And it's important for us to identify what could be those loopholes, like third party services. Many times customers will come, okay, we have a payment service, but we can't really load test it. Now that's a tricky question. Or in some of the cases, there might be few services which are not even available in the testing environment. So how do you identify how that service is gonna behave in production? Then we find few creative ways to look at it, convincing customers that, okay, in that case, it's safe to go at a rate what you have sustained in last 12 months. So if we can't load test it, we can't find that North Star. Let's look at the numbers in your analytics for last 12 months where you have seen the highest load and your system was still up and running. Start from there and then take it forward, right? Or we can increase the rate and so on. But in some of the custom cases, right, that's a very tricky situation. So success criteria for different customers will be very different. I have also seen few customers, they'll say, oh, for us, success criteria is not putting people in the waiting room. For us, success criteria is users shouldn't see the waiting room. Now that's a tricky situation, right? They want to go high in terms of that rate to their application, right? We call it max outflow, right? And those are very crucial moments, taking customer through that journey, making them understand. But at the end of the day, what we do, we help them in terms of monitoring. We have a lot of tools where we can monitor, okay, what needs to happen. There are certain indications on our side, whether the system is performing well or no, then taking those real time decisions, helping them to smoothen their sale, right? So that's what we do. Yeah, more or less that's what a journey looks like, right? And there are many nitty-gritties in that. You'll find that from customer to customer.
Are there any patterns that you've seen when working across the APAC region? Anything that comes to mind? Maybe is it very clearly kind of, you see some regions focusing more on one of the use cases or success criteria than others?
Yeah. No, I can see that, and you are right. Means APAC, it sounds very small, but we are talking about at least 4 to 5, or within Australia, we have 4 time zones, right? So you're talking about different time zones, different cultures. There are many different aspects in those cultures. When I talk to customers here in Australia and New Zealand, right, it's a very different story for them. What is important, they are very ready to accept, okay, how product, and then try to work around that. If we are talking to a customer in Southeast Asia, they have their own understanding, okay, how virtual waiting room should work. So bringing them through that journey, I'll not say it's a challenge, but it's a process. Sometime what you need to do is, okay, let's go step by step. They are, if I talk about Southeast Asia, there is a lot bot activity happening in that region for now, and for them, the mind, I'll say mindset, or that cultural aspect is, okay, now if we have QA in front of our system, there shouldn't be any bot, right? But if we look at those bot activity, that's a moving target. We do one thing, you need to do, they'll come up with something else. Then we do that, they'll come up with, so that aspect is very different. But if I talk to, I was on a call a few days back with a very big ticketing provider here in Australia, a huge sale. They were running 4 or 5 different sales on the same day. A lot of people on that call, we were identifying some suspicious activity. Customer was okay. Okay, that we do see there is some suspicious activity. Let's take a decision what needs to be done. And with some of the tools available in our product set, we were able to block those customers, and customers were very happy. But if I have to take that kind of decision with Southeast Asian customer, it will be a challenge, right? So they'll not take that decision then and there.
And I think we touched a little bit on the different use case. We didn't name them, right? But I think we started with the example of my being a retail company. Maybe we can still follow up in that example a little bit. But in that case, it will. I guess what I'm preparing here is for a peak traffic event, right? I'm preparing for an event that is scheduled. I know that there's a holiday season. Maybe it's a Black Friday event that it's at midnight. So I know that this is when I want to be kind of ready and have things ready to start. Then you also mentioned some of the other customers that are more focused on kind of maybe not necessarily showing the waiting room, right? And I think that also links very well with our 24/7 peak protection, right? So you don't have us as you can have us not only as a kind of preparing for a specific scheduled event, but you can have as an insurance for, okay, if huge load comes in, then the waiting room kicks in, right? Is that how you see the use case with kind of the maybe not wanting to take advantage of the waiting room? And I say that because one can indeed take advantage of the waiting room. It's an important part. It can be an important and positive part of the user experience. But some customers, the ones that are more focused on not having it, do you see it being as the 24/7 peak protection use case?
Not necessarily. I have seen that in both the cases, even in case of scheduled waiting rooms. I guess that's I'll say now not a competition, right? But there are two teams at customers organization. One is having KPI for selling, and there is another IT team who are responsible to have infrastructure up and running, right? So the team which is leading business, for them it is more important how quickly they can sell, and they want to project as in that, okay, we have enough capacity, doesn't matter what what is the traffic on their web app, right? And on the other hand, IT team or operation team, their KPI is their systems still. So they are thinking us as an, okay, we still want to have a QA in worst case scenario. If something happens, we are still up and running, right? Our system doesn't go down. But on the other hand, business team is pushing for the maximum rate at which they can sell their products. I haven't seen this use case that many times with retailers. Mostly with government organization, where that perception among citizens or their people, right, where they want to make sure that, okay, no, all services are available 24/7.
And I think you didn't mention kind of the I guess the balance between the two, right, with infrastructure and the also the business side and saying, well, I think a very interesting use case that sometimes is counterintuitive is that even if your infrastructure can handle a lot of traffic, you might actually want to restrict it depending on your kind of your supply, right? So if you're only selling a very small amount of products and you have a lot of people that want them, it's actually an advantage of reducing the number of people going into, especially if it's elements, for example, in ticketing, if it's kind of reserved seats. Then if you have a lot of people going to just a small amount, then you have a lot of clashes and all that, right? So even if the infrastructure can handle it, might be interesting and useful to reduce the flow, right? So that you can have more control over the purchase flow. I think that's, for me, kind of something clicked when we discussed that some time ago.
No, and you are right. I was having same conversation a few weeks back. Still a prospect, going through that journey in pre-sales mode. They were coming up with a very different idea when they started stating their problem statement. Idea is they'll be running a campaign where there are few coupons which will be available for few customers, right? And that number is not very high. Their system can still handle a lot of numbers, and they were like, can we do something? We just release people one or users one by one from the waiting room, right? So that then I started getting an idea, of asking right question that okay, what is that number? How many coupons you have, etc., etc. So the conversation wasn't about their system capacity. Conversation is more about how you can make it look better to your users, that they are saying, okay, there is a demand, and we are going to get something after waiting here, right? And then because you don't want to be in a situation where you let 1,000 users in your system and you just had 800 as an inventory for those coupons.
And maybe we could go back to my retail company. And we are getting closer to holiday season, right? So it's actually the day of. I'll I will be setting up a mission control room to kind of closely monitor the day and what's happening. Can you take us a little bit inside such a mission control room, and kind of how does it look like? Who's in the room? Kind of what are people looking at? How are they communicating? I would like to get some tips for my retail company.
Uh, no, that's a really good question, right? And I've been in those war rooms, monitoring rooms from various customers. Uh, Most of the time, that I'm using most of the time, right, will be interacting with operational teams who are responsible to keep their infrastructure up and running. Uh, I'll not say all the time those war rooms are very tense, right? Depending on what is the situation. But I have seen war rooms where at least 40 people to just two or three, right? Depending on customer size. Um, and I have also seen a shift in last 4 years. If I talk about it 4 years back, the conversation in those war rooms were more about um, what is the traffic? How's our system performing? Is CPU at 80%, or where is our memory sitting, right? Do we need to adjust max outflow? If I look at those high profile events war room nowadays, the conversation is very different. Do we see any suspicious user there? Can we do something about that user? Right. So that's the conversation. Then there are a few war rooms where I have seen even business people there. Now, depending upon what are the success criteria for a ticketing company, success criteria is how far, not how fast I'll say, but are they selling at a pace what they expected? Because for business people, it is very important. Promoters normally what they'll do is, oh, if we sell 30,000 tickets for this show, maybe artist is going to announce another show. So that's important, and that's where we need to pay attention. What is important for these? Then for a retailer, business people coming in there and saying, one user is reporting something on social media. They are seeing some kind of error or maybe some bad things, and things like how do we handle that, right? So for us, we do a lot of preparation before those war rooms, those big events. Means there is no point going to those war rooms, event monitoring, if we haven't done enough preparation, because once we are at the front of their website, right? Even though if it's not our problem, first thing comes, okay, is it because of QA? So we do a lot of, we have checklists and so on, make sure that everything is set up in the right way. Still, at that point of time, if it's a bot conversation, we try to help our customers that, okay, there is suspicious activity. Can we do something about it? When it comes to, okay, there is something on social media, what we can do about it? Try to find out from our system logs and so on. Is that legitimate, or someone is just trying to play with our system, or is it a genuine user problem? Right? And communicating that for business people, it's very important that they communicate the right thing to their customers. So yeah, it's I'll say that balance between what are the KPIs or success criteria for a particular event. I do remember one of that there is means now that's not a retailing or ticketing case, but there is an island in Western Australia, and then we work with the organization who are involved in managing booking for that. For them, it's they are our customer for last 3 4 years. Their system works fine, everything is fine. But what is important? If a single person makes two bookings in a single window and tweets about it, it goes to minister, and that's a big thing for them. Right? It could be a genuine case. Now, for us to make sure we show them enough data that no, this is someone didn't try to cheat here. It's pure luck. A person has two machines, got two good queue positions, and was able to make that booking, right? So yeah, there are. I'll say that atmosphere kind of work we'll do in those war rooms is again as diverse as our role as an TEM in QA. But yes, yeah, you just need to adapt. The key thing, probably to me, is understanding the business, right? What they are trying to achieve, out of that event.
Totally aligned there. It makes sense. So my retail company, we went through the mission control room. We went through the event. It's now a few days afterward. I think we're maybe getting to the end of the example, but there's usually we do then have a kind of a post event evaluation and kind of assessment, right? So how, maybe two questions. How do we usually kind of, in your experience, how do we usually help our customers kind of understand what happened? And maybe we can talk a little bit about kind of where we see the common mistakes and challenges be.
Yeah, the most common mistakes, or I'll say theme, which will come out of those debrief sessions, or when we analyze sometime that post event data. When customers are planning for those events, they always look at that happy scenario, right? Happy user journey. But when, yeah, end user is like, when they want to access it, they'll try left, right, center, right? And that user journey or those assumptions will fail. And how we can help our customer to protect against those scenarios, right? That's the key learnings in those
That's
sessions.
a good call out. That's definitely one of the things that also comes to mind is all the way to the discovery part and the kind of the work that in the beginning you start looking at the user journey, right? And one thing is the happy scenario, but it's also like, is it the complete user journey or not, right? If you want to protect the page here, are you protecting all the entry points to it, or did you miss one that you then see having impact in the system on the day of, right? So I think that's and it's not easy, right? But it's important to have that discussion up front. And I think for me, maybe another kind of more general thing is something that we work a lot on our side, right? And you did mention checklists, right? So are things integrated in the best possible way within the best practices that we have, right? Because we can do a lot of work, but then if you could have one rule that is slightly misconfigured, and that you could open up a loophole there, right? So it's and it's quite some pressure on making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed to before the big events. We did touch a little bit on the bots scenario, right? And I think you mentioned a few things that I think that you've, if I trying not to misquote you, right? But that you are hearing more, kind of being part more of the conversations with the customers around, oh, this traffic, this user, this it doesn't look right. So is it, how have you seen, I mean, you've been in Qt 4 years now. Have you seen the landscape around bots change in these 4 years? How is that kind of, how do you see that?
I'll not say a landscape change in landscape, right? Because at the end of the day, these bots, bad actors, right? Their purpose is very simple. What they want to do, if it's a limited supply game, they want to buy that stuff, sell it on eBay or somewhere, right? At a higher price. I have also seen some of the cases where those bad actors were not even interested to buy anything, right? But they just want to delay the process, right? Or delay that sales process. Though the shift, what I have seen in last 4 years, is the intensity. If I use it, means 4 years back, there were few events here and there where we'll see it happening. But nowadays, if it's a limited supply sales, especially ticketing, 100% there will be some bot activity there. I don't know if it's just because we as a world also moving towards that digitalization, more digital noise, and there are different problems to solve now compared to something else. When we are talking to a banking industry, means kind of attacks banking industry is seeing these days, that's huge.
I can see it as kind of, as you described it. I also see that it does look like, of course, the tooling and the techniques that they're using have also been evolved as our defense have been evolving, right? So it's, as you mentioned before, it's a bit of a cat and mouse game the whole time, and that will continue on. But do you have any? So for my retail company, actually, now that I think about it, I would like to kind of improve my setup for, I guess, against bots for my next event. Do you have any recommendations that I could think about and consider?
So there is no bulletproof solution, right? Let me put it in that way. When we are talking, means looking at various success stories in the market where we have worked with various customers. The best thing is if you know who your customers are, and then you can set up something that, okay, it's just limited to our customers. Now even what comes in, they'll get stuck at some point of time till the time they can't prove their identity. So I think that North Star is always going to be identity if we can identify our users. But yeah, it's easier said than done, right? As a retailer, you don't want to limit your target will always be, okay, how I can have more customer base. It's not that you want to limit your sales, your products to the customers you already have, right? So there are ways we have helped many customers, and that could be one of the approach. Think about just allowing those high demand products for limited people or known people, but not limited to the known people. See that as an opportunity, how you can increase your customer base by motivating people to be your customer, right? So that's the thing.
Sounds interesting and useful as well. So my retail company will work with you on getting that improved. Very good. So I think we are getting to the end of the example. No more fictional retail company. We do have. We like to end with a few rapid fire questions. So not thinking too much, as short as possible, but you can also go long. That's okay. First question: to you, scalability is?
To me, scalability is beyond system scalability or infrastructure scalability. I guess it's more related to business outcome and your success, right? How, as a business, you want to scale up. That could be related to process, people, systems is one part of it.
Second question, is there a resource, could be a book, a podcast, a thought leader that you'd recommend to the audience?
Yes, there could be many, right? But what helped me recently, one book, Extreme Ownership, especially in the context where I work, right? Working with various customers, various people, and so on. So that's that I'll definitely recommend that to someone who are in a customer facing role.
Happy to hear that is the book with that was. I also enjoyed it quite a lot. So is there, that's the third question, is there any kind of particular technology that you're really excited about in the future? And bonus points if it's not AI, because that's the easy way out.
I'll not say, definitely in my mind, it's AI. But now, if I put it, maybe I'm trying to change your question, right? I'm excited about it, but not really in a positive or optimistic way, right? I'm more curious about what it's gonna do in next 2 to 3 years, right? It's a buzzword right now. Everyone wants to do everything in AI, but we need to wait and watch.
Nice, very good.
So I'm definitely watching it.
And then we have a double question on an advice to wrap it up. So the first one is, if you could give a professional advice to your younger self or someone just starting in our field, what would that be?
Yeah, I'll say always try to align what you are doing with the business outcome.
And very final question on the advice as well. If you could give also one piece of advice to a company, not my retail company because now I have things under control, but to a company preparing for peak traffic, and the answer cannot be use Qt, right? So if you have one advice for them, what would that be?
Okay, so define your success criteria, what you want to achieve out of it. I guess whether to use Qt or any other technology, that's secondary, but first you need to be clear enough or clear about what you want to achieve out of that big day. If that's clear, then solutions can be found.
I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Praveen, for joining us today. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
It was my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of the Smooth Scaling Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and perhaps share it with a friend or colleague. If you want to share any thoughts or comments with us, send them to smoothscaling@qit.com. This podcast is researched by Joseph Thwaites, produced by Perseo Mandilo, and brought to you by Qit, your virtual waiting room partner. I'm your host, Jose Quaresma. Until next time, keep it smooth, keep it scaled.